Hello, you beautiful people of the Modern Warfare community. Today I am showing you the top 5 absolute best class setups in Warzone at this very moment. Now I'm laying this out a little bit differently than other people usually do. First I'm going to go through all of the primary weapons of each class setup and then the secondaries and then therefore on... yeah. I wanted to do it this way so that you can mix match it however you choose. And so that you guys don't feel like you have to go with this specific class setup this way, and that you have a few options. So let's go ahead and jump into this video, starting off with my primary weapons. First, arguably the best gun in Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Warzone is the M4A1. Now, you need to have this at least for one of your class setups. There is no other gun that is as amazing as this gun really is. Just nothing compares. It really doesn't. Now, my primary focus when it comes to the M4A1 was recoil control, getting that damage range up, and able to get your gun up faster. Now with Warzone, the majority of your gunfights are gonna be medium to long ranges. Now there are cases that you're gonna get close quarter gunfights, but whatever the scenario is, this M4A1 class is going to absolutely dominate. First we're starting off with the stock M16 Grenadier. This is going to help with your damage range, bullet velocity, and your recoil control. Now this does add some weight to your gun, so you are moving a little bit slower, but you're increasing each one of those a lot. Next we're moving on to optic. Now I put on the thermal hybrid, and I make sure at least one thing in almost every single one of my classes, whether that's a secondary as a sniper or my primary, has this thermal hybrid or some kind of thermal scope. Having thermal on any one of your guns helps so much. Everybody does it, and I promise, just put it on and you'll see how much of a difference it makes. Now the thermal hybrid is great because you also get a reflex sight. You just can switch back and forth for close quarters or long range, and it's great. It really is amazing. Next we're moving over to the underbarrel Commando Foregrip. Now this is just going to help with that recoil control, like I was saying, that primary focus. The M4A1 is already pretty good with recoil, but this just makes it that much better. Next for my ammunition, I put on the 60 round mags. Again, this is going to slow you down a little bit, but I find having that extra large magazine is so helpful. You can put on the 50 round mags and get a little bit of that mobility back, but I love it. I really don't think that I'll ever change this out to having just the regular, I think, 30 round mags. It is extremely helpful. Last but not least, we're moving over to the Stippled grip tape. This is going to help with your aim down sight and your sprint to fire speed. Since we've knocked that mobility down so much, we kind of need this to bring it back up a little bit. Now, if you have your thermal hybrid on a sniper as your secondary, you can always take this off and put on probably no stock, because this is going to bring up that mobility all the way back up to where it was. And you're still going to have all the pros of those other attachments. You can keep both guns with thermal on it, but I would really only recommend one. You only need one, but that's going to be our first class. Next, we're moving on to the PP-19 Bison. Now, one thing that I love about this gun is the magazine size. It already comes with a great magazine size, so you don't need to put anything on it for that. First, I start off with the Monolithic Suppressor, which I actually use a lot, and I would recommend using a lot for multiple different weapons. This is going to help with your sound suppression and give you that extra damage range, which we are looking for. Next, I put on the 8.7 Steel Barrel, which again helps with that damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control, helping with those longer range gunfights. Next, I put on the Tac Laser to help with my mobility and control of the weapon. You get your gun up faster, and you're just able to shoot a little bit straighter. Now next, we're moving over to my stock. I put on the Corvus skeleton stock to help with mobility. Some people put on the no stock to help even more with mobility, but the Corvus helps a bit with that, and you don't have as many cons as the no stock, so I find that this works better for me. You can try both out and see what you like, of course. Last but not least, again, the Stippled grip tape. It helps tremendously with your mobility. Get your gun up faster, you're able to kill people faster. As simple as that. Next, we're moving on to the AUG, which is an absolutely amazing weapon that for a while I thought was an AR just because of its range. Yeah, no, I'm stupid. Thank you. Again, we're putting on that Monolithic Suppressor, help with that sound suppression and your damage range. Moving on to barrel, we're putting on the 407 extended barrel. Now, you could put on this 622 long barrel, but I found that the 407 is a good medium. This is going to help with your damage range, bullet velocity, recoil control. Again, all that we're looking for. Next, I put on the Optic GI Mini Reflex. Again, this is because my secondary has a thermal sight. If it didn't, I would probably throw on some thermal hybrid for this as well. Some people don't put sights on the AUG. You can, again, put on Tac Laser, help with that mobility, your control, your accuracy. Again, it's whatever you choose. I really enjoy the GI Mini Reflex, but that is personal preference. Next, going over to the underbarrel, the Commando Foregrip. Again, recoil stability. Last but not least, it's something a little bit different than people usually do, and that's putting on the 5.56 NATO 30 round mag. You can also go for the 60 round mag, whichever you prefer. This is a conversion kit that makes the bullet hit stronger and you have more range. Now, this is making it a bit harder to control, but overall, switching to the 5.56 bullets or the conversion kit is highly recommended by myself and many others. Next is another fan favorite, and that is the MP7. This is a great gun for multiplayer and Warzone. I love it. Again, we're putting on Monolithic Suppressor, damage range, sound suppression. You understand that by now, I'm sure. Next, for the barrel, we're putting on the FSS RECON. Again, more damage range, more recoil control, the more the better. Next, I put on the Tac Laser once more to get that gun up faster and to help with the control. For my underbarrel, I put on the Commando Foregrip. As you can see, there are a lot of things that are repeated just because they're so good, and that is definitely one of them. Recoil control and the Stippled grip tape to help with that aim down sight speed. Now, you can always trade something out for one of the 50 or 60 round mags. It's going to be up to you. Last but not least, for my primary weapons, I put on the Holger 26. Now, this is only going to be for you Modern Warfare players that have the full game and unlock this in the Battle Pass. I don't know if this was this season or last season. I don't remember at this point. But this is one that I've been using for a while. First, we're putting on the Thermal Hybrid Scope. Again, only if you don't have a secondary without thermal, I would recommend this. Next, I put on the XRX Axis to help with that aim down sight speed. Commando Foregrip for the recoil control. The Stippled grip tape, aim down sight speed, improved mobility. And then last but not least, to change it from everything else, I put on Fully Loaded. Now, feel free to put this on any class. It is extremely helpful, especially when you die and come back in. When you go to a loadout station and equip something with Fully Loaded, it'll give you all your ammo, which is amazing. And you can put this on any class. The only con is that you are taking away attachments. Now, that's going to be my 5 main primary weapons, and now we're going to switch over to my secondary. Now, for my secondary, there's really only 2 guns that I have for my secondary at any time whatsoever, and one is going to be the HDR. This is a fantastic sniper, and again, that's one of the ones that you can just throw on the thermal scope and you don't need it for your primary. Unfortunately, I don't really have many attachments unlocked just because I only use this for Warzone, but it hits hard and it's great. Next, for my other secondary, I put on the Desert Eagle or the .50 GS. Now, this is really only going to be good for close quarters. I put on the Royal Decree. You can put on whatever you want. Sometimes I'll put on the monochromatic. That's just the schematics I have. Throw in anything on this. Most of the time, I'll throw on the 10 round mags, the Forge Tac Enforcer. You can throw on the Tac Laser, get this up faster, and this is going to be good for your close quarter ranges and not having to use one of your perks for overkill. Again, you can also throw on Fully Loaded for this one. That works great too. Now, moving over to my perks. For perk 1, I found that there's really only 2 perks that work really, really well that it's worth it. One is going to be the EOD, which helps with reduced explosive damage, and the other is going to be Cold-Blooded. Cold-Blooded is really, really good if you find that a lot of other people use thermal scope, in which they do. They won't be able to see you in it, or at least you won't be white from your heat. So either one of these, probably Cold-Blooded is going to be your best bet unless you die from grenades all the time. Next for perk 2, I run Hardline a lot unless I'm running a secondary sniper, then I'll run Overkill. Hardline is great because it takes 25% off or gives you a 25% discount at the kiosk stations for anything with the kill streaks, field upgrades, and armor plates, and it's really great. Again, if I'm not running Overkill, then I'm running Hardline. Last but not least, for perk 3, I would probably recommend Tune-Up. I do have Battle Hardened equipped, and that's only helping with your stuns, but 99% of the time you don't get stunned. Tune-Up is going to help when reviving your teammates. You're going to revive them 25% faster, and that is amazing. It helps so much. People also run trackers so that you can find them or see their footsteps. That also works. But overall, I would probably recommend Tune-Up. Last but not least, for the thermals and tacticals, I always run a frag grenade. If you're big in camping in buildings, put on a claymore, but please don't camp in buildings, please. And then for my tactical, I always run the heartbeat sensor. This gives you an idea of where enemies are around you, and that's, I mean, can't really ask for much more. You really can't. So that's going to be all my guns and attachments and tacticals and all that stuff. Mix and match these as you choose to create the perfect loadout for yourself. I pretty much always have a secondary sniper on there with thermal so that I don't have to put thermal on my primary and I can carry more attachments. You know, honestly, whatever works best for you. Anyways, let me know in the comments what you guys are running and what's working best for y'all. Maybe that'll work best for someone else. Anyways, thank you all for watching. As always, I love you guys, I appreciate you guys, and I will see y'all in the next one.